debates. Why? Why do I need you to convince me that Kamala Harris is evil? Why do I need you to convince me that Hunter Biden, told his dad to kill someone or whatever? I don't give a shit. Why are you giving these people any of your goddamn time?
This is insane. The contrast that we're about to draw right now, minus the fucking egg peeling videos.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know about the oh my god.
No.
Oh my god.
Hello and welcome to Can't Let It Go. It's an audio PowerPoint party. My name is Matt. I use he, him pronouns.
I'm AC. I use they, them pronouns.
AC, before we get to the topic, you told me that you have non-traditional nonsense.
Non-traditional nonsense. The best kind of nonsense. Okay, so Matt, I'll start this out by saying I do really feel like Jerry Seinfeld by asking this question, but what is the deal with airline prices these days? I have been booking some travel for work and also have in the last few months tried to look at maybe taking a little vacation, a weekend trip somewhere. And they've gotten so expensive. I feel like so old man yelling at cloud. I remember when I could fly to San Diego for $175 round trip from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, right? And that was expensive. But boy, is it crazy. And for what? For the door to fly off the plane?
I feel like we both watched the same TikTok video.
Oh, you saw the Spirit Airlines
TikTok today. I feel like we both got that one, except I saw it on Instagram. I think probably because our mutual friend posted it on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. I feel this 100%. We were figuring out plans for you to stay with our dog because we were going to go on a short little trip.
Yeah.
And I have been looking at flights and I was like, oh, $350 to get to Tulsa? That's actually affordable. Where I'm when we moved out here in 2016, affordable that I was surprised by was $200. Because I'm to get to Tulsa, Oklahoma, you have at least one layover.
Yeah.
There are now several direct flights to Tulsa, which is news.
Yeah.
But they start at $300.
And it's so in this TikTok, right, if you haven't seen this Spirit Airlines TikTok that Matt and I were referencing, it's the Subway Takes guy. And it's someone who is on Subway Takes saying that their take is that Spirit Airlines is the best airline because that at the very least, they're honest with you about what you're getting for the $150 that you're spending, which is a plane ride.
Yep.
That's it. Nothing else. It's just the plane ride. And honestly, I get that. I do.
I get it. And at the same time, I'm not a first class flyer, but I am
no.
Also flying sucks so much, mostly because of the airline. And I am not going to pay Spirit airline prices because I know I will get the worst.
And and I think and don't even get me started with all of the other problems about being flat. It's me. Hello, Flat Stanley here on the podcast today. I use they, them pronouns. No, being fat and trying to book and make sure that you have space. Southwest has their traveler of size policy, which is great if you can shell out for 2 tickets up front. I can't even.
Well, and even Southwest is starting to do all the bullshit that all the other airlines are doing now because of some activist investor. Tuba meme. That's the answer.
Yes, correct. Okay, that was my non-traditional nonsense. I just had to scream into the void for a minute.
A good halfway through that, I definitely felt that I feel like Jerry Seinfeld myself.
Yeah.
To everyone else, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode, at least the kind we've never done before. Instead of having something that is personally stuck in my head, I have a question from AC that they cannot stop thinking about that I'm going to maybe answer for them. Can you tell me the thing that you texted me?
I think, oh no, I've become the Jerry Seinfeld of this episode. Because like, Matt, what's the deal with Twitch? Something that I can't stop thinking about is like the powerhouse that is Twitch streaming. And as someone who works in the social media space, like the degree to which some of my colleagues in the like more traditional marketing space or more traditional communication space, if they aren't themselves gamers, like do not understand the power that Twitch has or like the value that Twitch brings to a brand. Not my brand, but like other brands like certainly would have opportunities to capitalize. And like, I guess I think the other thing is like, I also am not I don't watch live streams. Like I don't really get it personally. So it is interesting to me. And I know that like you are my person that I go to when there's something in the like gaming and tech world that I'm like, I can understand. Like, I think you could explain it to me and I could get on board. But I am starting from the only Twitch stream I've ever watched is embarrassingly Critical Role.
I mean, I think it's an entry point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
At risk of shortening this episode to like 10 minutes or less, I think we've been recording for 8.5 minutes and a good half of that was set up.
Perfect.
The answer to me is easy. Like, why the hell are people watching Twitch streams? It's two reasons. It's entertainment and parasocial relationships. Like, everything that I say should be... from here to the end of the episode should be in response to at least one of those. Just basic entertainment, right? The same thing television would do for you, right?
Yeah.
Or some sort of parasocial relationship.
But, okay. On the television comparison,
yes.
I have some questions.
Yes.
Is Twitch free?
Yes. You can pay for it. So I want to talk about specific platforms.
Okay.
But the first thing I want to say is like, I told AC this before we started recording. This episode, more than so many others, I have to say we're not experts. We're just here to talk shit.
True.
So many of you are going to have specific experiences that I haven't had. Very clearly, AC does not have a ton of experiences here. GJ, you're going to want to tell me about Vtubers. Please come to the Discord and tell me about Vtubers or your other like very unique experience with live streams. Explain
it to me like I'm 5. I also I say this knowing that like we're on a podcast network where one of the biggest shows on our network, if not we're the biggest show on our network, is full of a community of people who like engage in this kind of content frequently. So this is also me outing myself as non-game. I mean, I am a gamer, but like I am not a gamer in a way where it would be meaningful to introduce myself as a gamer to other people.
Right. I mean, among the TWG like creator community, you were probably the least gamer.
Correct. I'll talk tabletop all day. I will talk books all day, like nerd shit all day. I don't play first person shooter games. I don't really like narrative games. Like I am the lead. I am the baby. Okay. And I know this. And I love that you all love me.
You do play more video games than you did when we were in college, though.
I have played 600 hours of Animal Crossing. Exactly. Yes.
I want to talk about like what kinds of live streams there are. Again, this is going to be like we're going to miss a lot. I'm going to miss entire probably, sub communities of Twitch that I don't even know exist. But I want to talk about these. And yeah, I think Twitch is the big streaming online space. There are plenty of other platforms, both in sort of the internet's history and globally on the internet that I'm not aware of, but also just like smaller communities or niche communities. So we'll talk about Twitch, and a large part of this will be about Twitch, but we will have reason to call those out. So I'm going to start in a spot that may not be intuitive, but these were just what came to mind when I was writing these down, which is eSports.
Okay. I know that this is a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about eSports.
Esports streams to me, or the ones that I have seen, are largely produced by some company. It might be the company that made the game that the people are playing. It might be a tournament that is owned and run by a specific company. It may be not a company, but like a nonprofit that is running a tournament for, raising money or something like that. But largely it is an entity, and the streams are produced with varying levels of budget, the same way that a regular sports broadcast is produced. Oftentimes they'll have commentators. Oftentimes there will be like a desk where pundits are sitting at and discussing the season or the tournament itself or whatever. Sometimes it's as cheap as we put a camera in front of the people playing and are showing you the screen of the video game. And it's like in a hall at like a hotel, you know? Like sometimes it's cheap like that. It really depends on the budget and the circumstances. But when people think about esports, a lot of what they're thinking about are these bigger competitions with big prizes that are sometimes held in arenas. And those are live streamed. They're huge productions. One that I remember watching was, I don't remember the name of the competition itself, but it was like the Fortnite competition, maybe the Fortnite World Cup, maybe.
Okay.
And I remember this guy Booga won it, and everyone that was competing was in this like huge like tower in the center of an arena. And they had commentators commenting on it, and like the people operating the in-game camera were like zooming to different teams and or individuals in solos play, and you could like see how they were doing, and then they would zoom to another part of the map and you would see a different sort of ongoing fight in the game going on.
I think I don't know enough about Fortnite for this to make sense to me, but I trust you.
Fortnite is a battle royale. You go 100 go in, one leaves.
Yes. I know that. Yeah. I know that much. I think the like zooming to different parts of the map, I'm like, how could that be? How would you do that? But
yeah, so a lot of these games have a specific like spectator mode that is often built specifically for esports.
Interesting.
And oftentimes you'll see a lot of these kinds of features built into games that desire to have esports built up around them. One thing you brought up in your text to me was you don't understand what would drive someone to participate in chat on a live stream.
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically it's that like when I have tuned in to like someone who's like running a charity stream or something like that, or just like, you know, exploring Twitch because I do work in the social media space. I think it's like it's valuable for me to at least understand basic functions and like check it out every now and then. But like I see the chat like flying by, right? And like I see text that's moving so fast that like I functionally can't read it or keep up with it. And it often seems like the players or like the people hosting those streams also can't keep up with it. So like what's the point? How does moderation happen? Like, is there moderation? Like what's going on there?
So I want to have a view into these things for each of these kinds of streams that we're talking about. In terms of esports, think of it as just like cheering in a stadium. It's the same concept. That's the reason people are participating, especially in like large esports streams. No one's expecting their message to be read. They are there performing for the other chatters, essentially, on the off chance that someone reads them. And especially in these like huge streams, this is a different kind of stream, but like a Nintendo Direct or something where you're like watching Nintendo announce their newest stuff, and it's got tens of thousands of people in there. People are just shitposting or just like trying to get other people to like randomly read what they wrote. It is not valuable. I would not ever participate in those. But I don't know. It's just online shitposting, screaming into the void so that maybe someone notices you. The next kind of stream is really general to me. I want to say this does include gamers. Okay. But I want to talk about specifically big personalities. And I call it this because these are streams that are driven by the personality of the person like doing them. In most cases, these are people who used to have much smaller streams. Their audience was way tinier. They might have started from zero and built up an audience. What I'm not talking about here are people who are celebrities already or have a giant audience and come in to streaming on whatever platform they might be on. Sometimes you can get to this point from that, but largely these are people like Hassan Piker who, started out pretty small and kind of built up an audience. Anyone that you might like, any like sort of famous streamer that kind of ground up, built their audience on Twitch is the kind of person I'm talking about here. Somebody that gets played a lot in our house through YouTube videos, though, is Valkyrae. My husband is a big Sykkuno and Valkyrae fan. Basically, anyone that you would hear about in real life that is primarily a streamer, including all the awful people like Asmongold and whatever. But mostly, in terms of why people are watching these, it's because they developed attachment to the performers. Keyword there is like performers, right? And streaming itself feels more intimate than other forms of interaction with a person. Even a YouTube video of a stream feels more intimate than a produced YouTube video. Like the same format, same length of video.
Yeah, the unscripted element.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, and the fact that oftentimes people are streaming from their bedrooms.
Yeah.
Right? Even like famous streamers who make a good amount of money are intentionally streaming from their bedrooms. I think not necessarily, maybe some of it is really super calculated and they're like, this is what you do on the platform. But also some of it is just like, that's the culture. It has become the culture that like, you just hop on and like your lived environment is behind you.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I was just talking with my partner about like creating content and like your lived environment being part of your content. And I was saying that like something that I've really struggled with over the years is the way that like basically posting anything online that's recorded inside my home, especially for like the brand account that I work on where videos can get up to 1 million views, right? Like I'm inviting people to see my decor, see what the inside of my house looks like that I wouldn't otherwise know. And like, I actually feel weird about that. So it's interesting. I don't know enough about streaming to know that like the bedroom is often the backdrop, but that's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned Sykkuno and Valkyrie. They're associated with this group called Offline TV that had a pretty big following. They have off and on lived in a house together, but they all would like stream from their individual rooms. And a lot of the times when you see those people these days, they're all like making good money at this point. Like the example of Valkyrie, does she live in a nice house and probably have a very nice bedroom? Yeah, but like you can see that that's the place where she sleeps. Right.
Interesting. So it's not like a staged thing. It doesn't seem like this seems like this is just the culture and these are actually people's rooms. It's not like they have a room that looks like their room that they record in and they actually sleep in a different space. I mean, I guess maybe we don't know, right?
Maybe I don't know, but also like I think that there's probably people on both sides of that. But my understanding is that for large portions of these these groups of giant streamers, it's just true that they're just like, whatever, I'm comfortable. Like I told you about that asshole Asmongold. Famously, he's a disaster human and like has the like grossest fucking room in the whole world and like makes so much goddamn money on his streams and YouTube videos.
Fascinating.
But just like lives in like a shithole. Like there's a famous really gross picture of his room that he refuses to clean up. It's bad.
Cool. I won't be looking that up, but
it was shared in the Discord recently if you want to go hunt it down. Not in our channel though. I will say this, I mentioned these being performers. This is a skill. Like being able to be engaging and frankly talk that much for as long as these people are streaming is absolutely absurd. I used to stream maybe 3 hours a week on a single night playing music on Twitch and Mixer, which we'll talk about later. And I struggled so much just trying to have conversations with like the 4 people that would show up between songs.
Yeah.
Like of that 3 hours, I probably needed to be engaging like 2, right? Because I'm not even the majority of that time am I in the middle of a song, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it was like that was difficult. You and I could have a 2-hour conversation.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah, but like you and I on the couch could have a 2-hour conversation, and we would not talk as much as we do in this 2 hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's so true.
And the idea of streaming being more relaxed is that it's supposed to feel intimate and feel casual. But the reality is that, like, at least for me, was that in my head, I was having to think all of the time.
Yeah.
Like one thing that if you're, I don't know, listening to like streaming gurus and stuff, which like I have intentionally had to tell YouTube, I don't care. I don't want these, is they'll tell you to like talk even when no one's watching. Because if the off chance that someone comes in and you want them to stay, you need to be interesting, which... Oh boy, maybe now is the time that we get into this. This episode is going to be all over the place. I took a bunch of notes, but like it was hard to prepare for this. Streaming has its own burnout problem that is separate but similar to YouTube.
Okay.
And like other kinds of like on-demand content.
Okay.
Because you're only discoverable when you're live. And even then you're barely discoverable because of the nature of live versus on-demand. Right? On-demand stuff can have a thumbnail and a title to click, or on TikTok can just be scrollable and it's right there. Live video, it's not edited, so it's harder to be engaging at all times. And also on places that don't have scrollable feeds like TikTok, like Twitch, for example, you're going off the title of the stream and like what's happening right now.
Interesting.
And that's what Twitch will show you in their version of a thumbnail. YouTube's a little different. You can like set a thumbnail for a stream, but like most people don't use it because that's a lot of work if you're streaming all the time. I think it's a mistake on their part for what it's worth. But yeah, there's like different and similar problems to what Burnout is like on other platforms.
Interesting. Okay, TikTok is admittedly a lot of my like most current reference for streaming. I guess I'm so sorry that when I said the only stream that I've ever watched is Critical Role, that was a lie, because I've watched your streams before. And I think that there are other streams that like I have watched. I have like logged onto Twitch to watch, but like that is the one that comes to mind in terms of like a show that I used to tune into at a regular time to be able to watch it live versus watching it on demand. The ecosystem like between these things, like I feel like now sometimes I see on TikTok, like obviously people doing actual TikTok lives, but sometimes I see like I'm live over here. Like I'm thinking of like Don Marshall, who is the Lord of the Rings facts guy, does like parallel play streams. Or sometimes he does like live react streams when there's new content that's come out. But it's always like, oh, I'm live over on other platform. I'm not actually live here on TikTok. And like the reason that he does that, I assume, right, is because he wants to tell people to like go interact in the chat on the platform where it can get monetized. Is that right?
Boy, I don't know that specific person.
I mean, maybe not monetized. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
So I don't know why he does that.
Okay.
Oh man, you're getting into some stuff around like multi-streaming and stuff that like there's a bunch of opinions here. What I would guess is that when he streams, he wants to stream on Twitch, so he's trying to grow that audience. And there may be differences in how it's monetized, sure, and that might be a part of that equation for him. But I would guess that he is using TikTok as a discovery tool for his Twitch stream at that point.
Fascinating. I was about to say that I do. I forget that you're not a Lord of the Rings guy like me. And
I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy.
But you're not. It's not like me.
Exactly. Correct.
You're not someone who watches every Lord of the Rings facts video, you know?
Correct. I do know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
I have watched his trip across the world to tell somebody the kicking the helmet joke.
Yes. Yeah. That one's, oh God, that was so good.
So in terms of other kinds of people that stream, I want to call out, we talked about big personalities generally, and I said some of them are gamers, but I wanted to focus there that it's personality streaming. Like you've got people who just like do the just chatting category on TikTok. And that's like what Hassan is always in.
Okay.
Separately, you have what I would call like big or pro gamer personalities who their whole thing is about them being good at video games, like either for entertainment purposes or for like getting better purposes.
Okay. So like speedruns.
Speedruns is a version of this. Absolutely. Okay. But the one I was thinking about is Shroud.
I don't know what that is.
So Shroud is a big streamer that purely focuses on first-person shooters.
Okay.
And his thing is that he has incredible aim in these games. Like, is doing stuff that is absolutely nuts, and he's just so good at these games. People watch him either just to be entertained or to figure out, like, what is he doing that I'm not?
Interesting.
He's so good at these games that he has now, like, I don't know his involvement. I know he, like, put up some money up front for this video game called Spectre that is out recently or is coming out soon. I'm not exactly sure, but the whole thing is that it has specific elements in that FPS game that he wanted to see, even though it plays a lot like this other game called Valorant. That is a really big deal right now.
I am just thinking about how like my equivalent, like what's my equivalent of watching this kind of like stream with like somebody who's super skilled, and it's just like the only thing I can think of are Animal Crossing Island tours on YouTube.
I mean, yeah, like I was thinking YouTube tutorials generally.
Yeah, like specifically I'm thinking of Animal Crossing because the thing that I didn't know that other people were doing, or like the thing that I didn't think to think about because I don't have as much practice like thinking in video game logic, was like how Animal Crossing like the vertical like nature of the map in Animal Crossing is like a big part to like making your island like look aesthetic. Like the placement has to, anyway, I won't get into that, but Animal Crossing players know what I'm talking about.
I mean, absolutely. Or like just purely entertainment, not even learning. Like the whole phenomenon of Animal Crossing island tours, that is very similar to the kind of thing people are getting out of watching Shroud.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess like Animal Crossing streaming was pretty popular when the game first came out. You know, I certainly was like drawn in by the, I still am, I'm not really a big streams person. I like, those really have never appealed to me. The on-demand thing is much more like my speed. I think the thing that you said about like, it's hard to get an audience, it also feels hard to find streams that I like without them being recommended by a friend or being a creator that I already follow somewhere else. Like that's the most likely way that I've tuned into a stream.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of streaming.
Fascinating.
I think somebody will eventually figure out an interface. I think Twitch is frankly getting close. They have borrowed TikTok's swipe into a live thing. The home screen of their mobile app now is a TikTok feed of lives, which is going to make people mad, but I think will be better for streamers overall.
Interesting.
Again, to talk about chat and why people participate in chat in both of these categories of big personalities. And in this case, it's because oftentimes there were smaller audiences to begin with. So it was a group of people that could have a conversation in a chat and it was fully readable. And then you develop a relationship. As it gets rarer and rarer that Hassan reads your message, right? Hassan now responds to a donation that he gets or something. And that becomes a boon for him financially, but also that becomes a way for you to get seen by the person you have a parasocial relationship with.
Is this where gift subscriptions come in?
Yeah, so gift subscriptions. We can talk about Twitch monetization really quickly before we move into other categories of people. Twitch specifically, I want to call it specifically Twitch, monetizes through donations. I don't remember what they're called there. They might just be called donations and subscriptions. So the idea that I can either just one time give somebody a donation or I can subscribe in an ongoing manner to their channel. Those prices are set by Twitch. The cut is set by Twitch. It's based on like what level of, partnership you have with them, which is based on your following, how often you're streaming, a bunch of different metrics. Very similar to like the YouTube partner program. They pay a lot worse though, just overall. And there's a whole thing right now about how they raise the prices on mobile because of iOS and Apple. And I don't have time to get into all of that, but they do offer like one free subscription. It's rough. It's like 1 month of one free subscription for Amazon Prime members. So people will like ask you for your Prime sub because they'll be like, it's free, just connect to your Amazon account. It's like a way for Amazon to get what they want and also for you to get what you want and also for the streamer to get
this is how I subscribe to Critical Role.
Exactly. Oftentimes if I'm subscribed to Into the Aether, it's through my Prime sub.
Sorry boys, you're welcome.
To the chat, generally people that are not paying money to be seen or like are not, or maybe like just get called out or whatever, they are posting in there partially for the same reason like eSports, just to like shit post into the void to be noticed by the streamer or just by someone else in the stream. Even if the chat's moving too fast to be read, or they're like participating and they kind of don't care. Like they're just, part of it is just the vibe. Like it is hard for me to get into a stream and like not participate in chat because it feels like I'm contributing, even if the person never sees what I'm talking about, it feels like I'm contributing to the vibe of, I don't know, random stranger on the internet who is famous. I don't need to be noticed by you. That's not the thing I get out of it. The thing I get out of it is like, there's 2,000 people watching with me. And if 4 people saw it and laughed, that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting because I'm sure that someone has written a paper about this and I'm going to go do some research later because of who I am as a person. But like, it feels like what you were describing is like a version of something I've talked about on the show before, the sociological concept of collective effervescence, right? Like that feeling of collective participation. Yeah. That emotional connection to like a group accomplishment. And it's not even like necessarily a group accomplishment, but it's like the feeling that you have in a sports arena or at a play or in a movie theater or whatever,
100%,
at church, etc. It's really interesting because in in the classical definitions of collective effervescence, like the thing is that you are in the physical room with people, right? Like it is about a palpable feeling shared among a large group of people. Mm-hmm. You know, watching streams is fundamentally an individual, like right. A thing you are doing alone, but virtually. So yeah, virtual collective effervescence. I'm sure someone has written something about that. Surely I am not the first person to utter those words.
Yeah, it's interesting because like being in the room together, I think the word room leads to a sense of closeness, or I hate the word cozy. It's so overused, but that's what I'm thinking of, right? And this in the streams where I have watched where I felt like I was a part of that or a part of something, that's the feeling that I've had or participated in, even like just through chat or something like that.
Yeah.
Or frankly, there were some nights where I was streaming as the streamer and felt the same thing.
Yeah.
Let's keep going down this line because I think the next thing I want to talk about is smaller or mid-sized channels, which I think is really the good shit. Like, I think that that's the place to be. Like you said, it is hard to find these. Often you're finding them outside of these platforms. I think TikTok has actually kind of nailed discovery on lives. The problem with TikTok lives is that they feel...
Some of them are so psychopathic.
Exactly. Well, and they feel cheap because the platform is short content.
Yeah.
And so the live is as valuable when you're scrolling, right?
Yeah.
I skip through lives all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I do watch one, it feels like I don't want to be here, you know?
Okay. Okay, wait. We're going to sidebar for a second. Yeah. What is like your like most hated like TikTok live genre? Like you see it and you're like, stop showing it to me.
Debates. Why? Why do I need you to convince me that Kamala Harris is evil? Why do I need you to convince me that Hunter Biden, like told his dad to kill someone or whatever? Like, I don't give a shit. Why are you giving these people any of your goddamn time?
This is insane. The contrast that we're about to draw right now, minus the fucking egg peeling videos.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know about oh my god.
No.
Oh my god. Okay. There are videos where these people peel the shell off of an uncooked egg without breaking the
the yolk?
The inner part of the egg, like the amniotic sac, whatever that's called. Yeah. And it's like they do it like tiny piece by tiny piece. I never want to see one of those again. The contrast between political debaters and peeling the fucking egg is...
Oh man. I could spend another 4 hours ranting about political debate lives. They are purely engagement bait, and I hate them so much.
Yeah, that's true. I never get those. Yeah. I think so. I'm proud of that. I will say my favorite TikTok live. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show before, but it feels like I have. The shrimp rave.
Oh yeah,
the shrimp rave is. Oh yeah, when we talked about banning TikTok, where will the shrimp rave? Yeah. I love the shrimp rave. God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Point is, smaller mid-sized channels are more fun for me to participate in generally because it becomes like a small community of like, I don't know. I think the ones I enjoy the most are like max 30 people.
Yeah.
For me, a lot of these are music streams or they're into the Aether or .zip streams. Those are the places that I go for this feeling. Similar things for me are like Marvel Snap streams, which I watch a decent amount of actually. Used to be because I was way too deep into that game and I was like trying to climb the ladder and get better. These days it's like, I don't know. Oh man, we gotta talk about drops. They turn on drops, or I'm like, I'm bored right now. I should turn something on. Here's Marvel Snap. And like, I might message in like, oh, that was a good play or something like that. You're giving me eyes about drops.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. So another advertising thing that has happened because of Twitch is that games like live service games that have some kind of internet connection or whatever, where often multiplayer games, they will work with Twitch and creators on Twitch to say, hey, if you watch so many hours of a stream of this game, you will get something in game.
Oh.
Or every 30 minutes, 5 random people in chat will get access to this thing in the game,
Like
or
a skin or something like that.
yeah, or sometimes it's like early accesses to like alphas, you know.
Be really proud of me that I knew the term skin, because I don't know what the thing alphas. I don't know what that is.
Just like early access to games that are being tested.
Okay.
So it's a way to juice viewers to get eyes on your video game as a publisher, and also to keep the game sticky, to keep you playing them.
Yeah.
I'll often just turn on like a Marvel Snap stream in the background because there's a drop going on, and I'm like, I want the free variant, you know, like I may not even watch it. It'll just be there, you know, which is actually very common.
Yeah. So I have some questions about like the smaller mid-sized channels streams. So are these like, okay, I get the sense of community. Is it like, are you seeing the same people like in the chat on streams? Like when you say, you know, you're going there to like hang out with your friends, right? Like, I mean, I cut my teeth on the internet and AOL chat rooms, baby, you know?
Same vibe.
Okay.
Same vibe.
Interesting.
So I have mentioned here and before that I used to stream on Mixer, Microsoft's defunct streaming platform.
R.I.P.
It used to be built into the Xbox, and you could get on the home screen if you had the right situation happening. Literally had a friend, somebody turned on their Xbox and he was just there. They didn't like follow him. They were just like, I think they were related, and they were like, why is my cousin on the front of my Xbox? You know, I streamed on Mixer for a long time. I say a long time. It was for a while. And the platform itself was small. Like the highest number of like viewers on a stream was for Ninja. You're aware of Ninja?
I know who Ninja is. Yes.
That was because he famously signed a deal to be Mixer exclusive. That's why I checked Mixer out in the first place. That actually, I was in the spot you are right now when I did that. I was like, I should know more about streaming. And I had seen some Twitch already, but I was like, let me go check out this other platform. And I discovered music streams, which I did not realize existed. People just like playing music live. And like I said, average of around like 30 people in those chats, and you would see the same people, especially on that platform, across streams even. So I would go from my friend Tyrone's stream to like my friends Johnny and Heidi's stream to Jordan Lane's stream, and I would see some of the similar people in the chats. Sure, there were people that were like unique. You asked how moderation worked. Oftentimes someone that shows up to your chat a lot, you will get to know a little bit, and then you will make them a moderator, and they can ban people or delete messages in chat or what have you.
Fascinating.
That's frankly, on the bigger streamer side, that's how some people become big streamers, is they end up moderating in the early days for streamers that got big. And then that makes their streams get attention
Bigger.
because they have the entire audience of that other bigger streamer.
Interesting.
That was a path for a while. I don't know that it is right now. I don't know that anyone's like growing as fast as they used to. But yeah, I kind of got into streams from those smaller communities. And absolutely you would see the same people there every stream or in like the same category. This is the one that I'm going to have GJ explain to us in Discord, which is Vtubers. Are you aware of the concept of Vtubers?
Nope.
So Vtubers are streamers who have a like virtual persona, where like using like facial recognition through a camera, sometimes like they get like really intense setups with like body tracking and stuff. They will drive a like cartoon character on the screen.
Whoa.
And might even do voice mods or like modulate their voice themselves, like just biologically, and become a persona that is not themselves.
Oh.
Often these characters are anime girls.
Okay,
It's
for sure.
like all the time, honestly. Somebody I knew on Mixer, his VTuber persona was a crab. It was the most unique VTuber I've ever seen. I don't know much about these. I know that there was a VTuber in the game, the story for the game, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, that I just finished.
Okay.
So it is that big of a deal that it's showing up in other popular media.
Okay.
I would guess, I have no idea, but I would guess that this is something that has made its way to the States from another place.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey GJ, hit us up on the Discord.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me. I need to know more.
Yeah. Do you know anything about hot tub streamers?
I mean, I know about porn streamers, but I don't know about hot tub streamers.
So for a while, I don't know if they still do, but for a long time, Twitch had this rule that actually, I don't know which way it was. I'm pretty sure that it was like Tumblr's regressive nudity policy, where like if you were a man, you couldn't.
No, not Tumblr's regressive policy. Remember,
Yahoo and Verizon's.
Yeah, it was
FOSTA. Yeah.
But yes, Tumblr. Yes, I know.
Yeah. So basically, female presenting nipples was the joke phrase that kind of get tossed around a lot. It was the same concept on Twitch for a long time.
Yeah.
And people always tried to break it. These days, I think no one can have their shirt off.
Yeah, I think that's right.
On Twitch, which is like goofier. Like it just means that people get banned for dumb reasons.
Yeah.
But at least it's consistent, you know? Mm-hmm. But like people try and skirt these rules all the time. And one thing that was like the meta on Twitch for a while to like get viewers was to be a woman, to be in a bikini, in a hot tub, doing a just chatting stream.
Okay.
I hated this discourse season. Ugh. Every once in a while, you'd see some asshole be like, what was that woman's name that did this? She made a bunch of money. She escaped an abusive relationship. Good for her. It was this whole story. I don't remember her name. I'm not going to take the time to look it up. But she made a lot of money on Twitch doing this.
Okay.
And people on Twitter were mad in like 2020.
For sure.
Especially like dudes with 2 followers who didn't know how to get any viewers and like had really boring streams who assumed that she was stealing their viewers. Mm-hmm. And then one person said something that was interesting and right once, and then it became the thing that you say to these people, which was that she's not stealing your viewers. Your stream just sucks. And I don't know. I've just like seen that cycle of discourse like continue itself in spaces even like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It's the same thing around like it's difficult to have a conversation about like shadow banning or like content deprioritization because it is more complicated than like it's not straightforward to say like yes, your content is being deprioritized for this reason, right? If you're not clearly violating a rule. There's no
and especially when like 80% of the time people are talking about shadow banning, they're actually talking about racism in the algorithm due to people who watch the content.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Very similar. And so Twitch solved this, quote unquote, solved this problem by introducing like a hot tub category. And they're very strict about their categories. If you're like, especially if you have a lot of viewers,
interesting.
They will either force you over or end your stream.
Interesting.
Speaking of streamers, Brendan just went live on his Wavelengths his Wavelengths Twitch, which I just got a notification about on my watch, and I now want to turn that off. No shade to Brendan, but I don't want Twitch notifications on my watch.
LOL.
And you're right. There's straight up porn streams.
Yeah.
I mean,
or like the like upskirt. Right, streams.
Oh, I've never heard of this, but
I don't. And maybe that's not the right way. But it's like people who stream with a camera under their desk.
Oh yeah. There's a Twitch competitor that is meant to be gaming streams, but it's also like explicitly a porn site. I'm not remembering the name of this place. I used to know someone that streamed there.
Yeah,
and people would like have 2 cameras and a game, so they would have like 2 views of themselves and the game as well, but one would be under the desk,
right? Yes,
where they'd be like masturbating or something, you know, like whatever, and the other would be at their face. It looks like it looks as nice as Twitch does.
Sure, yeah.
And then there's like old school stuff, you know, like the old school porn streaming places that have been on the internet for forever.
Yeah.
Another this is a really broad category for me. Podcasts as streams. Anything that could be a podcast, almost, except for like really heavily edited stuff that only works on demand, I think can work as a stream. You mentioned Critical Role. I think this is why that works for them.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think repurposing streams for other forms of content, the way that Critical Role does, is a good way to build a media business. It's a broad category because like we could do a whole episode on podcasts, and I think it would mostly apply to streaming as well, or at least would have a lot of overlap with it. But I don't know. I've watched like interview shows on Twitch that were later going to become podcasts.
I mean, you and I both have strong opinions about how podcasts are not radio shows, but fundamentally, if one wanted to point to a difference between radio shows and podcasts, it might be the edited nature of interviews, right? Being cut in with reporting, right? Yeah. Like, and there are other like examples like storytelling that might not fit that as well, but there are plenty of people who do recorded, like heavily edited storytelling podcasts who do live episodes and live recordings in World.
Yeah, for 99% of streams, if you just put that audio on a podcast feed, it would not be popular.
Right.
But like, I don't know, Critical Role Do they edit their stuff ahead of time or is it fully live?
It used to be fully live. It is no longer fully live. There's a lot of debate about whether or not it is edited.
Okay. My point was, even if they're live, they are very prepared. So they're like, they need less editing and could probably just put their audio in a podcast feed and it'd be fine.
They do.
Yeah, exactly.
They do put their audio in a podcast feed and have since the beginning.
Just straight up, like with no editing.
Yes.
I'm sure there's other similar kinds of things, but like 99% of people couldn't do that. But the content could at least be shared between podcasts, YouTube streams. That is a bunch of categories other than music, which I mentioned, that I thought about. Are there other ones that you have seen?
You know, off the top of my head, like, I mean, there's the weird shit, right? Like there's the stuff that just like doesn't make sense, that is absurdism, right? And a lot of that, it like lives on like TikTok live streaming rather than other platforms. But, you know, I think that this was something that like was in my mind when I was asking you about this initially, right? Is like, there is, in the same way that there is a book for every interest or a podcast for every interest, it does seem like now there is a stream for every interest. And, you know, I think actually the thing that started me thinking about this a lot was the episode that I did with AJ about like how the internet has reshaped language and culture, and then like subsequent conversations I had after that recording with friends about like Gen Alpha slang being around things like Sigma or Phantom Tax, like these terms that come from stream culture, right? Even things like just like saying like F in the chat, right? Like if you don't know what F in the chat means, that's a fully meaningless phrase. And I like have this much, like I have a tiny understanding, this much, famously on an audio medium, holding my fingers a little bit apart does not communicate anything to anyone. Like I have a small understanding of what F in the chat means, but I couldn't explain it to you right now. I know it's a good thing.
Yeah. Are you aware of press F to pay respects?
Nope.
Okay. In some Call of Duty game, in this like really sad scene, I believe it was Call of Duty. Someone, if I'm wrong, I'll be let known. There was like a sad death and there was a funeral scene.
Oh my God.
And in order to interact, the prompt was press F to pay respects. It was supposed to be this like really somber, like militaristic, you know, thing. And it ended up just being a joke. It was just hilarious to everyone.
Okay.
And when something is bad, like this over time morphed into, oh man, I fucked up, F's in chat, you know, or F's in chat for some bad thing. It's usually a joke, you know, happening. Yeah. Like that's the idea. It's a joke and that's how it's good, but it's like, I don't know.
It's like self-deprecating, like, exactly. I screwed this up, F in the chat. Yeah. I guess I understood that when I said it's good. Yeah, I understood that element. You wouldn't say it as like W in the chat, exactly. Right? And F in the chat are not interchangeable. But it's like, oh, well, that's on me, guys, right? Like honestly, F is probably, I would guess, the most sent message on Twitch, if I had to guess. Like just, people will just say F when something vaguely bad happens on in a stream in a game. I have seen it.
Yeah. Or even not in a game. Like I have like massively screwed up a song on a Twitch stream one time and had lol F sent, you know.
Jeez.
I mean, it was like I was not torn up about it. But yeah, I want to get, if you'll indulge me, into the history of streaming.
Please.
Do you remember BlogTV?
Yeah.
So I remember BlogTV in the context of Wizard Rock.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like every time we do this, we're going to have to do a short explainer on Wizard Rock. Wizard Rock is fan music created by fans about Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah.
It is oftentimes fans who are taking on personas of characters in that world and writing from those personas. As the rest of the Harry Potter fandom has dissolved or over time is getting smaller and smaller, so has this sub fandom. In fact, someone listening to this is probably gonna be mad about this, but I would say I think it's fully dead at this point. But that was the fandom that you and I like really grew up in as young adults. And I remember that a lot of those people used to do BlogTV streams.
Oh yeah.
Often with like MacBook cameras. It'd be like,
oh, well, yeah, that was the only cameras we had.
Exactly. Like 4 people crammed into the view of a MacBook camera.
Yeah.
And that was like, I don't know, it was like the way that we got to see those people when we were in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Do you remember that party in Midwest City? Where like
The one where you put tallies on your arm for how many shots you did?
nope, different party in Midwest
Oh, good.
City.
Okay, great.
At a
Perfect.
hotel where
Oh, I
yeah,
remember this one.
I'm not going to name a bunch of people because
Yeah.
some people are disgraced at this point, and some of them are like friends of friends. So I don't want to like. But all the guys were upstairs doing something, and all like the girls and us were like in our hotel room, just like hanging out.
Yeah.
The guys were upstairs on BlogTV.
Yeah.
Like,
I do remember
They
that.
were doing
now.
a BlogTV stream that I believe some people we know were watching.
Yeah.
It was just like a different way for them to perform and get attention.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like that did feel more like what you were talking about with like the smaller streams, right? Like I remember that and like logging onto BlogTV because my friends, I think it is still the same thing, right? Like I wasn't scrolling on BlogTV to find people to watch. I knew people who were performing on BlogTV and I would log in or like tune in to see them do stuff.
Yeah. BlogTV is now owned by a company called YouNow, which used to be a more mainstream streaming site, but is now a nudity allowed streaming site.
Oh, perfect. Well,
yeah. Short history of Twitch. Twitch started as Justin TV. It built itself on live streaming because the site's founder, Justin Kahn, put a camera on the bill of his hat and streamed his entire life except for bathroom and bathing breaks. And they built a chat function, which was novel at the time, so that you could talk to him while he was live streaming his life. It's where the concept of live streaming, instead of like a broadcast.
yeah.
And the idea of being that in that close contact with that many people, like during your daily life, was wild at the time.
Yeah. What year was this?
Boy, I don't know. I didn't write that part down.
Oh, no.
Justin TV stream. Let's see. When did he start this? 2007. He began streaming continuous live video and audio at midnight, March 19th, 2007.
So then the thing that is on my mind here is like, this is right around the time of like the rise of vlogging, right?
Yes,
like
exactly.
video blogging is becoming a thing. And that is like a very, like, was initially, I know that it seems so impersonal now, right? But I remember video blogging being like feeling really personal and feeling really like connected and like building communities in the non-live chat functions of videos, right? Seeing the same people commenting on videos, seeing the same people interacting with creators that I liked on multiple different platforms, those kinds of things. I mean, and this is like, I feel like is like around the time that it starts to become common that like you would have the same username across multiple websites, because like I remember a time where it was advantageous not to have the same username on different platforms because you might be talking about different things and you would want not to be able to be found across websites.
Yeah. I mean, I found one of our good friends on like 4 different websites after I met them in person one time because they had the same username. And I had to text them and be like, I'm sorry, I just followed you in all of the places.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was absolutely that realm. That's what was going on. Do you know the creator iJustine?
Yes.
Okay, so iJustine did this for a while on Justin TV when they kind of opened it up to more people.
Okay.
It became Twitch after they spun off twitch.tv from Justin TV exclusively for gaming content, and that became more popular.
Interesting.
They just like brought in Justin TV stuff into Twitch, right? Twitch was gaming first, but never gaming exclusive.
Okay.
And that just like, it turned out that it probably was more interesting to streamers, but also I think for a lot of people this is weird, but was more interesting to viewers.
Yeah.
That there was something to watch that wasn't just like, I don't know, me walking down the street or whatever. There used to be this question I don't hear a lot anymore, which is like, what, you just watch other people play video games or whatever? And like, I get why that was asked in the past, but also like, I can think of like 17 reasons that are really practical off the top of my head why you might do that. To learn about a video game I might want to buy, to chat with the person that happens to be playing that and have something to talk about, to enjoy something rather than doing it myself. Or sometimes it's just like, I don't know, it's just a vibe, right?
Yeah.
Like my friend Katie says sometimes that like she grew up just watching her brother play video games, and it's similar to that for her.
Yeah. This is so interesting to me because that question does linger in my mind simply because it doesn't seem to be something that has appeal to me. But like I've certainly tried it, right? Like I've certainly checked in and tried to watch stuff or like seen what's interesting out there. And it's just not really a format that works for me. But like all of the things that you're explaining make sense, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what I was saying kind of at the beginning of the episode of like, you could explain it to me and I would understand it. And it's still not ultimately for me.
Yeah.
But like now I have a better understanding.
Yeah, I think a sports is always a really great way to, I think, compare to streaming. But I think it's similar. Like I can go play football. I would never do that. But I do.
Can you?
I watch football.
Yeah, that's true.
I enjoy watching football.
I can watch Jeopardy. I would never play Jeopardy. Jeopardy also isn't live. I know.
Yeah.
That's the whole point here.
The first Twitch stream that I remember watching, to be clear, was Twitch Plays Pokemon. Do you know this?
Oh, no.
So Twitch Plays Pokemon was, I believe it was not internal. I could be totally wrong. It could have been an internal thing the whole time. Now it is. But it was this thing where somebody had put like Pokemon Red up on a stream and had hooked up the chat to the button prompts. So you're talking about like a crazy chat just continually going and being impossible. Every button prompt got listened to from the chat. So if you typed A, it would be an A, right? Right would be right. And the whole thing was like, can Twitch chat beat Pokemon? And there are like moments where Twitch chat like deleted a really powerful Pokemon that they loved. Like they developed like characters and personalities for the Pokemon they had found. They beat Pokemon. And they have since done it several times over. Like, like not just on the official streams, it's probably happened thousands of times on unofficial streams.
Fascinating.
This was a big deal, and I think brought a lot of people to the platform, including myself. After that, the first time I remember like watching a stream was the first time that Fortnite did like one of their I don't know what they call them, chapters, where they like switched everything off so that they could reset the whole thing. They do seasons, but this was bigger than that. It was like I think they call them chapters. And it was the first time they'd ever done that. So they shut off the game and it was just like a screen of like a rift in space. And there was like weird noises and numbers that would show up. It was like very intriguing. And the first time this had really been done in a video game where it was like live to everyone that logged in. And there were streams of it. And Jonathan and I just like put it up on a TV for several days and just like let it go. Like one of the benefits of being gay is that like I can just do random like bachelor shit and like he's down. Yeah. But yeah, we literally had it on a TV in our office for a day or two straight. Funny. And then Jonathan was also really into the Overwatch League, which is an esports league for Overwatch. And we watched a lot of that. I'll say we still do watch a decent amount of esports. Like if there's something interesting happening in the esports world, he likes a lot of Blizzard games and there's a lot of Blizzard esports, whether it, be for Overwatch or StarCraft or whatever. Yeah. And then the next thing that I remember in streaming besides Twitch was Meerkat. Do you remember Meerkat? You maybe don't.
I don't think so.
Periscope?
I remember Periscope because Periscope was integrated with Twitter.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of both Periscope watching and Periscope streaming at like protests and stuff like that. I'm thinking especially of like the Ferguson uprisings and like other big like protest moments around that era.
Yeah. So Meerkat is one of these apps that launched at South by Southwest and was gonna be the next big thing.
Okay.
Meerkat died in 2016. So
R.I.P.
It was born in 2015 and died a year later.
Woof.
Streaming on phones was enabled by the prevalence of 4G LTE.
Yes. When we got the chips in our brains.
Exactly. The rest of mobile online video really took off around this time as well when in various places, but I'm specifically in the context of the US, when the US kind of finally got like blanketed in LTE is when we started to see mobile online video rise. Yeah. And that's when, as that was happening, Meerkat was like, oh, now's the time. And so they launched that. They kind of got their lunch eaten by Periscope and then Twitter bought them. And then everyone else launched their own live mobile video product, and Meerkat didn't have a business anymore. Yeah. Frankly, Twitter didn't have a Periscope business anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah. It didn't last very long either.
Honestly, Meta launching it on Facebook and Instagram is really what killed it. Because this was like pre-TikTok in the US.
Interesting.
I actually remember the first time I watched a Meerkat stream. I was sitting in the Coho at Stanford and sitting with my friend, and we were watching somebody get out of an Uber at South by. That thing about like Justin TV where you were like chatting with someone and I had done that at this point, but it felt different because they were on their phone in an Uber.
Yeah. They were on the move, not like sitting there, like dedicated. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't think Facebook Live or TikTok Live or Instagram Live exist if Meerkat doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels right. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I've talked to you a bit about Mixer. That was the next thing. I found that I started streaming because of Mixer because I realized, oh, people stream music. What the hell? Yeah. This is something I love doing. And also I was looking for a way out of the Game Ends course at the time because I was just kind of like tired of being on somebody else's schedule. So I did that. Mixer was awesome because it even the UI, like the colors in the UI felt cozy in a way that was like, I literally felt like I was sitting in your living room.
Yeah.
And then when they died and we had to move to Twitch, and everyone did, they didn't really consider anywhere else. That was something that I missed. It's been a while since that happened, since June 2020, but I would absolutely still consider some of those people friends. I talked about Johnny and Heidi earlier, my friend Tyrone and his wife Candace, who don't stream anymore, but are good people. And also, if you're looking for a music streamer, Jordan Lane makes a good chunk of her living on Twitch, and she's a great singer, and you should watch her.
Yeah.
When that did happen, that's when I really got into Twitch. So I had watched Twitch, but I was not like into Twitch, you know?
Yeah.
And the first streamer that I found that was Twitch specific that I enjoyed was Samuel Tucker Young.
Okay.
If you catch one of his streams, I promise you it's going to be a good time, but he streams so sporadically. He's a fucking incredible musician. We'll probably link like his Bandcamp or something in the show notes because just what a talent. He's apparently working on some new music. He posted on Instagram the other day. So he's a good dude. A bunch of friends who moved over from Mixer, and then it was like Marvel Snap stuff. And these days it's just like Aether and .zip. There's a different thing about streaming though. I'm going to tell it to you and you're going to be like, doesn't sound like streaming, which is streaming on Discord.
Okay.
So Discord, a semi-private chat, voice chat specifically, where you are streaming to the people in the voice chat.
Yeah, I mean, I've played D&D this way. Are you telling me that there are people who like do streams this way?
Yes, and sometimes multiple people will be streaming this way. And you might be thinking, Matt, that sounds like sharing your video over Zoom. And it is. It's just higher quality audio and video, and it comes from a different part of culture. Like, it's just because Discord is primarily a gamer product and was originally built for chatting during gaming.
Yeah.
That they talk about it like a stream, and that it's designed specifically for those kinds of people rather than for like office software.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I think like that is like a really interesting element of this also, right? That I haven't really thought about of like, could you replace your Zoom event with streaming on Twitch, right? Like, could you direct people to log in on Twitch instead of sending around like a Zoom virtual RSVP link? And it would depend on your goals and all of that kind of stuff, right? Who your audience is. Interesting. Fascinating.
Yeah. I think that is all that I have prepared for you.
Yeah.
But are there questions that are lingering in your head about, hey, why the hell are people watching Twitch?
I mean, I don't think so. I think like, does it feel like to you that like what I said in our chat or in our text chat, which was that like, it feels like there is a generational divide in the understanding of like the value and power of Twitch. This came up in the episode when I was talking to AJ. Like, one of the other things is like this TikTok where this teacher tells her students like, hey guys, or like, hey friends. And they were like, why do you always say that? And she's like, what else would I say? And they say, you could say, hi chat. And like the pervasiveness of like youth culture around streaming and the internet just generally, right? Versus like my age, I feel like if I know that you are into Twitch and streaming, you are someone who plays video games extensively.
Yeah, I think part of this is just that we grew up in the social media age of the comment. Everything has comments, but now more and more some things have ongoing chats or are themselves ongoing chats. I don't know, just like a plain old group chat, right?
Yeah, it's the chat room.
Yeah, it's the group chat. It's a Discord. It's literally a Twitch chat or the chat on a TikTok live, right? Yeah. I've heard people younger than me refer to comments on a on-demand video as the chat.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the prevalence of places to have a conversation about the main event that has probably led to that.
Yeah.
Full guess from me, the millennial.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I think it like, I mean, I don't expect you to have the answer.
Yeah.
I just kind of, is that your impression? Right.
Yeah.
Like, and it sounds like yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting thinking of the chat as the side event. Because I think it is, but I think also the value of it is sometimes more primary than the way that like we place it in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, like, I wonder, especially with these, like, the smaller streamers or, like, these mid-sized streamers, like, will we start to have, like, these romance stories of, like, oh, I'm waiting for, like, my crush to log on, you know? Like, because I think about that when I think about, like, my chat room experience, right? Like, not to say that, like, I dated a lot of people who were in the chats that I was in, but I certainly didn't not do that.
Right.
Right? Like, the experience of, like, being on AOL and, like, being logged on. And again, this is a AOL chat rooms, right? Were chat only. These weren't, I mean, this is, oh my God, Matt, you didn't even bring up my favorite live streaming service of all time, Omegle.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think I didn't bring it up because I don't think of it as a live streaming service, but it sure was.
It sure was. Okay, wait, hang on. Speaking of Omegle and live streaming services, do you remember when Ben Folds used to stream on Omegle during his shows?
Yes, I do.
That is one of the funniest things.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was so fun. And I remember, like, being at a show and seeing him do it. And, like that kind of like creativity, I think, is like what I am always kind of like looking for. But again, it's not something that I ever would have known about if I hadn't been following that person. So like, I guess, I don't know. I mean, we've already kind of talked about discovery, right? Like that it's hard to get discovered and there's nobody who's really doing it well. So I think my next, like my question, that's not a question, more of a comment really, is like, I'm eager to see what happens when other platforms really finally crack that nut of discovery. And it is something like streaming is something that I can break into because I'm able to find new content that isn't just different versions of the same content that I already get from people that I like.
Yeah. I have a whole rant about how YouTube has completely shot the bed here. And if they got their act together, they could completely annihilate Twitch. Not that I like want fewer platforms out there. It's just like, it's what would happen in the world we live in. But like, I think YouTube is a better platform overall. And if they just made their chat better and used all of the obvious tools at their disposal to solve discovery, they would just nuke Twitch from orbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to call out something funny that I think about what the note that you wrote down about this was, which is YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the internet after Google. And I think that that's funny because YouTube and Google
are the same company.
The same thing. It's Alphabet, you know, right? And like they're separate entities within the larger whatever.
They've gotten closer again recently. So.
Yeah. So I think that that's just funny. But yeah, I am really just generally so fascinated by the ways that video content has taken over our lives. This aspect of like live streaming. Like I think other things that I was thinking of that might come up in this conversation that hadn't are like when you were doing like Google Glass, right? Like specifically when you were talking about Justin.tv, like that reminded me so much of like what Google Glass was about and like what the idea behind Google Glass was that you could like record or photograph like any of these moments from your viewpoint.
I like that. I think that it failed for a bunch of reasons, but I think like even the idea was a failure, not even just the execution or like the marketing. Like I think having been there and been the person using it, I think it was cool, especially like taking photos being actually much closer to what I saw. Unless you're Justin Kahn and are like interested in live streaming every detail, I don't think there's a lot of people that are interested in that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. The last thing that I'm thinking of, right, is like even the way that we say like POV, right? POV is to indicate a certain type of content. Like I am you, point of view, right? And like that is a lot of what streaming is, right? It's not even just about.
In regards to POV, I know somebody that does like pottery streaming from like a POV angle.
Yes.
And like that's all his stream is him playing like calm music, and like you just see his hands like shaping pottery.
Yeah. Yeah. So these like POV streams, right? But also like the idea that streaming is about closeness, right? POV is about eliminating that proximity entirely and moving you into my space so that we are seeing the same thing. But even just like us having this conversation over Zoom, right? Or whatever streaming service we're using, which is not that one, is about intimacy and like proximity, because we're only seeing each other's faces, right? We're only seeing, well, you are also seeing my hands because of who I am as a person. but like we are up close and personal, for lack of a better word. You're only seeing streamers from the waist up unless you're a waist down freak. And like, it's, I don't know. I'm just fascinated. I don't have more questions. Just, wow, lots more thoughts. They're coming.
Totally. I think that's it. I think that's the show.
That's the show, baby.
If you want to support the show or you want to support my work, you can go to ko-fi.com/Matt Horton. If you set up a recurring monthly donation, you'll get access to our members only show called Can't Put It Down. It is this show, but about video games. And it comes out sometimes, whenever we feel like making it.
And maybe one day Matt will teach me how to do streaming and you could hang out with me on a video game stream. Although that seems
actually, I think
unlikely.
It'd be pretty easy to get you and me on the same stream together, which would be fun.
Okay. If you want to stream of me and Matt doing something funny,
let us know.
I can't promise that it would be funny, but let us know in the Discord.
Yeah. Speaking of, join the Discord, because if you wanted to, you could get notifications when I do go live, which is rare, but it might happen sometime. Hey, AC, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at acfacci.com. That's acfacci.com. Great website.
You can find me at matthorton.live. I just wrote a blog that recommended like 5 different comic books that you should check out.
Ooh.
I think I called it, I think you should read these comics or something like that. Or comics I think you should read.
5 different comics I think you should read.
Yeah, exactly. You can also find the show at can'tletitgo.gay. If you're looking for that Discord link, you will find it there. Oh, that reminds me. I did put the Ko-Fi link on that page. It is also there. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at can'tletitgo.gay. Thank you to The Worst Garbage for having us. You can find everything about the network at theworstgarbage.online, including, I believe, when this episode comes out, we'll have a new podcast, or at least a new podcast to the network. The wonderful people from Girl Mode have joined us on the network, and I'm thrilled because I fucking love that show.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it rules. We're very, very excited.
Hey, it's Editing Matt here. I had some completely unusable audio that I needed to come in and replace. I just want to say that Girl Mode is an incredible video game podcast hosted by Willow Rowe and Robin B. You have probably seen their writing all over the internet if you're the kind of person who follows games writing. And I've been listening to Girl Mode for a long time, and I'm so happy that they have joined us on The Worst Garbage. Each other, and so tease each other constantly, but also occasionally, randomly, they do X-Men episodes because Will's a big X-Men fan.
Hey, the same could be said about us.
Yeah. And I told them in Discord the other day that they got me to read Grant Morrison's new X-Men and that I didn't like it, and they threatened to leave the network.
Boo.
Come find Girl Mode and find the rest of the shows and us in the Discord. We're in the Can't Let It Go channel. Shout out, by the way, to the people that help make the show. Scout for making our art. Pay her to make you something at ko-fi.com/humblegoat. And to Ethan for making our music. Find him on Twitter at Pragmatism. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.